Here we go. Here we go. Here we go again. Guys, welcome and happy Thursday. This is a delayed episode because what happened was this has just been a really rough month. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. But today we're doing the Patreon Q&A. And I want to thank everybody in the Patreon club. If you're not part of the Patreon club, definitely check us out. We are a growing group of people who are interested in breath work and just being awesome. And if you are interested, you can go to jessekumar.com or you can go to the actually, I have a link. There is a link in the description box below. And that is that is our breathwork club. It's the Breath Club. So this club originated back in 2020, which was a really rough year. I think we all remember 2020, and I had to cancel all of my events. And as a breath worker, and this was during kind of when I started to really do a heavy professional breath work for a living, that was a huge blow. But this group arose, and it's been an amazing, amazing tribe. And I want to thank everybody from all over the world. There's people from all over the world in this breathwork tribe. So if you've not joined the Breath Club, definitely give us a try. There are different perks at different tiers. The starting tier is only $5, which gets you access to the complete breathwork catalog and to what we're going to be doing on the next hour, which is our monthly breath party. Now, all of this was supposed to happen. All of this was supposed to happen last week. All of this was supposed to happen last week. But what happened last week? Well, I've had a really rough month, first of all. One of the things that happened is that, I'll give you the backstory. So some of you guys might have seen my last episode on the death of my uncle, and it's called Goodbye. Thank you for all of the well wishes. Thank you for all of the support. Hey, Paul, good to see you. Ian, hey, brother, good to see you. But maybe you saw the last episode, and we're going to do a lot more episodes. I've got a cold plunge I'm going to be testing out for you guys. There's a new product. There are 2 new products that I'm going to be testing out. They're going to be sending them to me that have to do with monitoring your breathing. One of them monitors your heart rate and your breathing at the same time and hooks up to your phone. A lot of really cool things coming for the channel. And the new format, I'm just really loving the new format. I am not a soundbite guy. I love to get into details. I love jokes. Speaking of jokes, this morning, yes, and I also love getting off topic, so I apologize. But you know what? I don't apologize. I promise it's going to be worth it. This morning, I was hanging out. I was taking my son to school, and we were learning about the moon. And, I had heard the legend that the moon, it doesn't rotate, and that's why we always see the same side of the moon. I don't know. The last few years, I've learned that there's so many things we just take for granted. People repeat these things over and over again, and then we just think they're true. And so one of the things, honestly, I was telling my son this morning, and my son was like, "How is it that the moon doesn't rotate? How does that work?" And he's a smart kid. I don't take any credit for that. And so we did the whole, we asked AI, and AI was telling us about that. And I was like, you know what? Are there any moon jokes? Me and my son, we love, fortunately, he still likes my dad jokes. We'll see how long that lasts. And then I was like, what is the oldest joke? So what is the oldest recorded joke? And I'm going to tell it to you. The oldest recorded joke was recorded by the Sumerians. So many of you may know the Sumerians. They were the ones who were able to have all these astronomical charts, these incredible scientific discoveries. They kind of just exploded out of the middle of nowhere. They had written language, it seems like, out of nowhere. There's all kinds of conspiracy. Maybe, I don't even know. I don't know if I'd call them conspiracy theories, but there are many theories about Anunnaki and all these different, oh my gosh, you can go crazy with Graham Hancock and all this cool stuff with the Sumerians. But the Sumerians also give us our very first recorded joke. Yes, they have the very first epic, the Epic of Gilgamesh, which my son knows that whole story. and I call him Inkiddo. That's how geeky. That's when you're the son of a former English professor. That's the kind of life you have to look forward to. He calls me Gilgadad. I call him Inkiddo or Inkiddo, right? So Inkiddo is the. So anyway, that's more nerdiness than you signed up for today. Here is okay. So we have an incredibly sophisticated society. They also have the very first recorded. You like the Gilgadad? I thought it was pretty good. So anyway, they had the very first recorded joke of all time, 1900 BCE. Here it is. Okay, and I'm just saying this is the oldest recorded joke. I'm not saying it's the greatest joke. I'm not saying it holds up over time, but it will blow your mind. Okay, this incredibly sophisticated society, ancient Sumerians. Here it comes. This is the joke. What is the one thing that will never happen? Okay. Answer: that a woman won't fart in her husband's lap. There it is. That is literally the oldest recorded joke. The oldest recorded joke is a fart joke. And it's a so I learned something today. Hey, you learned something today. We're going to learn a bunch of things about breath. We're going to learn a bunch of things we're going to talk about supplements that you can take to breathe better. But hey, we're already starting off. Hey, we're already starting off a little bit of breath work. I like laughing. And I don't necessarily like smelling farts, but that's some things there too. So so that is the oldest recorded joke in history. It is a fart joke. So there it is. All right. Hey, Rye, good to see you, brother. And Paul, I do think it is a very incredibly impressive fart joke. Ancient fart jokes. I mean, everyone's farted since the dawn of time, and it's always been kind of funny, right? And apparently there was a real, I mean, what okay, so the question is, what is one thing that won't happen is that a wife won't fart in her husband's lap. Are I don't know, is my wife farting in my lap and I don't know about it and the ancients knew about it? I don't know. Oh man. Well, hey, I want to thank you guys for being here today. We're going to have an awesome time today. I am going to be answering some questions from our higher basically our gold level tier and above have access to ask me any questions they'd like. They have access to any kind of, if they just want me to talk about a topic, maybe they wanted to talk, they're like, hey, Jesse, I want you to tell a bunch of fart jokes. Basically, as long as it's not just like something I have no idea about, or it's like something I would consider to be inappropriate. And hey, fart jokes are on the level. They're not inappropriate here. As long as it's something like that, I will talk about, if you'd like me to discuss it, we're going to talk about it. This month was a crazy month. I had, it's just been a really rough month. I had a lot of close people to me die. And I told you guys in a previous episode about my uncle dying is my favorite uncle. You're not supposed to have favorites. Well, I have a favorite uncle. And man, I talked about it on a previous live that I did not too long ago. And so I won't go into great detail here, but yeah, that was a rough day. And on that day of his funeral, I lost my voice. I got laryngitis. And so the worst part about it was that night I had to do, my wife is a director at a foundation. They have this annual foundation dinner and you're supposed to dress nice and have jokes with people and it's loud and you're supposed to talk. And I'm always the loud guy. You can probably still hear, I'm still getting my voice back. And it's been a week. It's been a little over. Oh man, it's been almost 2 weeks. And and I'll tell you what my issue is, and then we'll go into the question and answer here in a minute. But but here's the thing. So I had that happen, and then I lost my voice, and then I had to go to this event, and my wife is like, "You lost your voice," and I'm like, I'm like, how you sound like you can sort of find a tone, and then you're like, "That's all I got. This is all I got." So that's what I was doing. And hey, Slayer, Hey, big hugs, man. Mein Freund. Uh, well, I took 1 year of German in high school, and this is just to let you know why I probably became an English professor. German has a very similar grammar, or at least more similar than Spanish to English. I took 3 years of Spanish in high school, 1 year of German. I think I remember more German than Spanish. I married into a Spanish speaking family, which is, I mean, I wish I would have remembered a little bit more of the Spanish. It's no bueno. It's no bueno when you don't speak the language. Anyway, coming back to so I had all last week. I had to like all I do, like my job is primarily speaking. Like it's all teaching, guiding, coaching, interacting, um, and that's what I do. When I lost my voice, I lost like the thing, my tool, my only tool of anything. And so I had to change last week. So last week we were supposed to do the this was what we were supposed to do last week. And then also the monthly breath party was supposed to be last week as well. And so I had to change it till today. Now, the thing that happened though is there's only so many things I could actually change. Like there's some appointments I couldn't move. There's some, like if you're in the language of breath course, I was like, man, I can't cancel. And it was Monday, and I was this close. I was this close to the microphone, you know, and I mean, I barely made it through. And so I was like, okay, the Breath Tribe, thank you so much for letting me move the date till today. We're going to talk about your questions. We're going to talk about the topics. And so one of the topics that we're talking about is breath work when you're sick. And so this is because if you're in the $10 a month tier or above, you get the monthly breath tip. So if you're a person who's just always interested in continuing learning, in our breath tribe, if you sign up for the $10 a month, you get all the access to everything. And then you also get access to the breath tip of the month and then all of the other breath tips of the month. And I've been doing this for years now. So you get like a whole catalog of breath tips, things that will help you. And, um, oh my gosh. Is that okay? It says D Ash, but I know who you are. I know who you are. I don't, I guarantee you. Now, okay, here's another tangent. Here's another tangent. But you can speak the same language, but if you're from a different place on the planet, there are variations in the language. It's just a fact. I guarantee you, Slayer, are there now? I don't know. I would assume if you go to different places that speak German, that there are variations. I bet if you go to so don't tell my wife. Well, it was a long time ago. I dated a woman from like Argentina or Brazil, or I forget. I'm so sorry. I dated a woman from South America where they had an enormous amount of German people who moved to that country. What was it? I forget. I mean, it was a long, I mean, we're talking like it was a while ago. What is it? It was at least 20 years ago. But they spoke German, and I guarantee you, South American German is different than European German. Deb. Anyway, if you're on the $10 tier, you get access to the breath tip of the month. And this month, because I had to do this whenever I was sick, I was like, okay, people need to know a few things about when you're sick, some breath work to avoid, right? And there's also Swiss German. So I see exactly. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. So, and the problem was when I dated this girl, like I tried to impress her with the German that I remembered, and then she would speak back to me fluently, and I was like, yeah, let's just stick with English. So anyway, this month I did a breath tip about breath work to avoid when you're sick. And there's so much in the world that is Um, yeah, Austrian. I see. Guarantee you. Anyway, there's so much of there's so much in the world that we hear repeated so many times that we don't question it. And one of the things that I talk about in the monthly breath tip, and I don't want to give it away because hey, I want to honor the people that are in the $10 tier and above. If you're above, you still get access to it. And I want to make sure this is something that freshly came out. But I talked about the most common breath work that everyone says to do whenever you're sick is probably the one you need to avoid. And so that got me a lot of questions from the people that are in the $20 and above, so the gold and above tiers. So I want to cover some of these things for you guys. And while I don't necessarily want to give away the breath tip, I'm going to do a few spoilers just because it's kind of necessary in order to talk about some of these questions that you guys sent me from the gold tier and above. So having said that, one of the things you want to avoid is irritating your all of your membranes. Okay, so you want to avoid. Yeah, exactly, Ian. I'm so glad you mentioned that. If you do breath work, you'll never get sick. Yeah, you just don't get sick. there's so, Sadly enough, there's so many things that it's just like the fitness industry. When I was younger, my family, they owned they owned a nutrition store, so supplements, vitamins, and things like that for 20 years. And sadly enough, just like in the nutrition industry, there's a lot of things that get perpetually repeated and people start believing them. So heavy breathing when you are sick is generally something that you should avoid. And people are like, well, wait a minute. I thought I was supposed to do, super ventilation or Wim Hof, or I was supposed to do Bostrica or things like that. And here's the thing that I wanted to say about that. The biggest thing is what you're going to find and a lot of it depends, right? A lot of things will depend on how you do it, your environment, a lot of things. You guys can't see this. Actually, last year, or I forget whenever this happened, but I used to have my humidifier. You used to be able to see the mist from the humidifier over here. I'm humidifying my air. Here in Indiana, it's cold and the air is getting dry. Doing superventilation, hyperventilative techniques, I don't care what technique you're doing, has a high chance of irritating your membranes, your bronchi, your bronchioli, your sinuses more rather than less. And, a lot of people don't want to hear this. I want to do heavy breathing. I want the high. I want all that stuff. And in reality, the best thing you can do is everything you can do to be relaxed. Anything you can do to sleep more deeply, relax more, lay down on the couch. Don't do anything that requires the dopamine feedback loop. Try to stay as relaxed as you can. That is the key. There is the only thing that will heal you is you. And this is the big message that I'm trying to bring with the language of breath philosophy, is that there is, and I think a lot of people we look at, ever since penicillin came out, this is something that changed the whole world, the whole culture of the world, is that there is a pill that will make me not be sick. Now, we've also had all of these things for as long as humans have been humans. I'm sure Gilgamesh and Enkidu. Well, back then it was like, well, you go to the priest or the witch of the forest or whatever, right? And or the fairy, and then you'll get the magic, and then you'll get cured. But we look at, of course, in the modern age, we know that we got the idea that antibiotics will cure a cold, and that's why antibiotics for the longest time were overprescribed. And it was this thing where if you go to the doctor, you got a cold, you expected to get antibiotics, it would make you feel better. And a lot of times it was you doing it, right? It was you could call it placebo. Ultimately, it is the unconscious part of you, the unconscious you. You cure you. And medicine, breath work, diet, exercise, what they do, all of these things help you do that, right? So you give yourself the right nutrition, you put yourself in the right environment, you allow yourself to be relaxed, you You either exercise more or you exercise less, depending on what it is you're going for. For instance, whenever I'm sick, I don't exercise. And I know a lot of people are diehard and they'll exercise, but when I'm sick, I don't want to be sick very long. And first of all, being sick is there's nothing wrong with you. For the longest time, I would feel guilty for catching a cold or for and I'm like, and I'm not going to go into why that is, but you might have an idea. There's things that I've done in the past that it's like, hey, you're never going to get sick again and things like that. I would feel guilty, and it's the dumbest thing. Having cold symptoms is a sign that your nervous system or your immune system, that's a part of your nervous system, is doing what it's supposed to do. That is a healthy immune system functioning well. And we've gotten this weird shame over it. And so I don't want to be sick very long. So I know that the only thing that's going to cure that is me. And I have to be in the right state to make that happen. So what I do is I do everything I can to put myself in that right state. And if it's possible, I take time off. Sadly enough, it wasn't possible. Last week, I've gotten into an incredibly busy season. The book, first of all, thank you everybody for getting a copy of the book. The book's going really well. Actually insanely well. And so well that I'm so humbled at all the love. So thank you so much. But it's made me very busy. And this is good. Sometimes I say, I just got blessed so hard. You get blessed so hard, right? Sometimes good things will add stress to your life. And so all of it happens. And if you can't take time off, you need to at least try to take moments off, try to take hours off, try to sleep more if you can. Understand that the momentary fleeting pleasure of staying up a little later to watch, your favorite show, or, the fleeting pleasure of having a beer or adding more caffeine to your day, at the long run, it's going to lengthen the amount of time you're sick in most cases, because you have to help you cure you. You have to help you heal you. And so, and feeling guilty about being sick or feeling guilty, what I say is you shouldn't feel bad about feeling bad. That doesn't make any sense, right? I feel bad. I feel bad about that. So the thing to do is no matter what you're struggling with is to kind of say, okay, I'm going to have a little compassion for myself. I'm a pretty good guy. I love you, Jesse, or fill in your name, and I'm going to take care of you. Sometimes we have to look at ourselves in the third person that way. And if you've read the book, The Language of Breath, you know that I encourage everyone to look at themselves as a relationship, conscious and unconscious relationship. And that unconscious is the only part of you that's going to actually help you heal. And a lot of times, whenever you hear the word unconscious, we get these mystical notions and things. Everything that I'm talking about is like, that's what we call it in science. We have these unconscious aspects of ourselves. And all of the things that are going to make you healthy are unconscious aspects. You cannot consciously heal yourself. You have to get out of the way. You have to say, okay, I know that my unconscious self can only help me heal if I let it feel safe, if I give it time, if I let it relax. And so when it comes to breath work for illness, we're looking at anything you can do, first of all, to relax. Okay? Yes, if you hyperventilate, if you take in a whole bunch of caffeine or any of those things, you will feel better momentarily. Dopamine feels good. Endorphins feel good. But in the long run, you've shut down much of what will help you actually feel better as a whole. So I had some questions that were follow-up questions with the tip of the month. And guess what? Everybody gets to take advantage of that. Everybody gets to benefit from those follow-up questions. And all of them had to do with But Jesse, I want to do super ventilative breath work. It feels good in the moment. It makes me feel like I'm feeling better. And, isn't it proven that if you do this, then you're going to kill the virus or kill these things? And that's not really the case. The reality is a virus, once it is alive inside of you, or a bacteria, it's going to take a little bit of time for your immune system to figure out how to create an antibody to that. And there is a natural process that has to take place. You can do things that will make that happen faster. And that's what that is. It's everything that will help you relax, everything that will help you sleep. If you could just, and the problem is, sadly enough, sometimes we're so sick that it's hard to sleep, right? It's hard to breathe. I hurt. It sucks. I can't, I hate, one of the things I do hate is whenever I get a cold that I can't sleep. It's just like my throat hurts or everything's scratchy and it impedes my sleep. And so, the worst part about it is I know that I need to sleep in order to get out of my own way so that I, being my unconscious, can help me heal. So, wait a minute. Lucas is over there? Well, hey, Slayer, Lucas, awesome. In the house. Much love to you guys. Let's see. There's also, yeah, ayahuasca does not do that. As far as I know, I'm no expert on any of that, but I would imagine that is a misnomer, Paul. Yeah, we want to stay in. Sometimes we look at our autonomic nervous system. In the language of breath, we look at the autonomic nervous system as as we call it, the Rosetta Stone, and that goes back. That's another ancient device that it was the Rosetta Stone. It was a decree in 3 different ancient languages. One was ancient hieroglyphics, which is interesting. Ancient hieroglyphics was actually where we get like what we call maybe the Romanized or the Latin alphabet, which is what we use in English. It's just like they've gone through variations. Almost all of the English, or what we might consider the Latin alphabet, came from variations that went through the Etruscans and all these. It was really cool. But anyway, we look at the autonomic nervous system not as something that we can control. Again, that's another thing that everyone repeats so often that we just believe. We look at it as the Rosetta Stone, as a cipher. What is happening? What does the unconscious me believe is happening? What's it trying to do? Okay, well, is that appropriate for what I know to be the case? Well, I can send messages through the autonomic nervous system back to my unconscious self, and then, hey, great, we can have a better relationship, and it's that better relationship that serves us. So I had a crazy week. I couldn't call off everything. I had a lot of appointments, a lot of sessions, a lot of things. I called off everything I could. I had meetings with friends. I was like, "Hey, brother, I'm so sorry. I'm sick. Can we call it off?" And my friends were like, "Yeah, sure." But there were some things I just couldn't call off. I had appointments that just couldn't be changed. And so I didn't allow for myself to be relaxed like I should have. And as a result, I suffered longer. And sadly enough, another friend of mine died like the very following week after my uncle died. So I went to two weekends in a row. I had high impact funerals, and in the daytime and in the nighttime, 2 weekends in a row, I had social events I had to go to. So I mean, it was just boom, 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 and you do your best, right? You do the best you can, but it's a there's going to be ads running. I did not. Okay, guys. So let's see if I can skip the ads. I did not mean to put ads on this video. I think I was able to skip the ads. So yeah, I'll be taking the ads off of this on the recording. I didn't think I put those on there. Sometimes I think YouTube just does that automatically without me saying it's okay. So anyway, ultimately, when it comes down to it, anything you can do to help you relax is going to be what you want to do. You want to relax. And that means, and that's different. Like I sometimes I'll have a client, I just sat around playing video games all day. I'm like, some people find that very relaxing, but there's a lot of dopamine that's happening, and there's a lot of autonomic arousal even then, especially, and if you're playing the shoot 'em up games or things like that, you want to almost just try to be as bored as you can be. That's when I recommend a person just lay down on the couch and you can watch TV and vegetate, read a book, try not to care about the world at all, and just try to relax as much as you can. So, okay. So though, when it comes to breath work for sickness and illness, there's a lot of different ones. Ian's talking about Buteyko. That's a fantastic one, especially for clearing your sinuses. The Buteyko nasal clearing technique, fantastic. Um, oh man, I'm so sorry, Ian. Ian, so Ian's fiance has pancreatic cancer. Oh my God. Here I thought I was stressed out. My heart is going out to you and her, and hey, everybody watching is I would assume, I'm just going to speak for the group and say we're sending you love. So Ian, for anyone, one of the things that I've heard about cancer, and so this is one of those things again, sadly enough, there are people who've made claims about breath work curing cancer and things like that. That is not what I'm going to tell you. I've been friends with enough people who have cancer to know that the hardest thing when you have cancer is getting a good night's sleep, because you're worried, and hey, totally fine, Ian. When you have something wrong with you and you know that it's silently working, and you know that cancer, or you name it, XYZ, has been fatal in many cases, right? When you have an understanding of how that works, there's a lot of different ways to face that. Some people will face it by just trying to for distraction, right? They'll just be distracted. Other people will face it by becoming the biggest cancer expert in the world, right? Other people will, there's a lot of different ways to face it. But what happens so often is we ruminate. You think about what you know about the issue and it worries you. And the unconscious you is going to try to give you energy to get away from a threat. It doesn't understand, our unconscious selves doesn't understand disease. It understands, running away from a threat or running toward like food or some kind of a thing, shelter. And it's going to try to give you energy to do those things. And it's going to feed you dopamine to try to solve the problem. That's what naturally is happening. And so anything you can do to help her sleep better is going to be important. Anything you can do to help her during the day to feel as though she can relax even in the face of this deep stressor. That's the key. Beyond that, get good medical advice, and take good care of yourself. And that would be the most I would want to say. But ultimately, the thing I keep hearing from everybody that I've known that's had cancer, and fortunately, a lot of these people have come through and they're okay now, right? They're in remission and they're living healthy lives. So we live in a good time because we understand what's going on a little bit better than we did in the past. And so sometimes that's a great consolation, is to understand we know more than we ever did before, right? But the thing they always tell me is, man, it was so hard to sleep because I was worried. I was worried I wouldn't wake up. And so anything that we can do to reassure ourselves, basically to send messages to our nervous system, sometimes you might say it that way, to calm down, to relax. You're at least going to have better quality of life. You're going to make better decisions, and you're probably going to treat yourself better. It's a weird thing about humans, and I am no exemplar in this way. When we are under stress, when we don't feel safe, we tend to treat ourselves worse than whenever we have less stress and we feel safer. So the first thing that goes out the window when we don't feel safe or when we're stressed out is exercise, eating healthy, drinking clean water, having time for meditation and mindfulness, breath work, all those things. It's crazy, right? It doesn't seem logical, but it often is the way it is. So the more we can stay relaxed and the more we can help ourselves feel safe, whether it's through nervous system regulation, through breath, or music. I just had my Spotify. Did anybody get your Spotify list of the year? So my number one, it's so funny. My number one artist was not handpan, but my number one category was handpan music. So anyway, I hope that helps, Ian, and we are all sending you love. So thank you for sharing that, and feel free to reach out. Um, So, okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about, I had a question about supplements for better breathing, and this is one of those things where oftentimes we look to supplements and as kind of a shortcut. We kind of want the supplement to do the thing for us, and we're not willing to do the work. And I know that I am guilty of that. I would love it if I could take a pill and then I would be, healthy and I would have no problems and all these things. But typically, you know, while I do take supplements, I will tell you the supplements are secondary. They're the low hanging fruit that, in addition to doing the work, will help you to do well. So, this question was just generally, are there any supplements that help me breathe better? And so the answer is yes. I don't want to make it sound like these supplements are going to take the place of, mindful breathing, of proper breath mechanics, of training yourself to hopefully endure a little bit more CO2. You still need to nasal breathe, all these things, because that's going to do the best thing. And then the second best thing, in addition to that, I wouldn't say the second best thing. You also want to try to avoid irritants. And very few people talk about this, but like right now, I'm humidifying my air. Having proper humidity in your air is going to do more for you for your breathing than any supplement you can take. So this morning I woke up, I had a headache, and I'm still coming back from this cold because I haven't been able to slow down. Had a sinus headache this morning, and I was like, man, I know what this is. So I went to the my thermostat, and it lets me know what the humidity is. And the humidity had dropped significantly because it's cold now. It's cold here. It's freezing temperatures outside. And so what that does is it causes irritation and it causes inflammation, which causes pain. And you can take anti-inflammatories, but you're not really doing anything to curb the problem. You're just making yourself feel better, but the air is still too dry, right? So there's so many things that are not supplements that will help you more than supplements that I just want to make that clear before I go into the supplement list. All right. Okay. So here's the supplement list. The two big ones that you're probably familiar with is fish oil and turmeric. And so turmeric and fish oil, especially when you take them together, they're very good anti-inflammatories. There's all kinds of different things that they do. But one of the biggest thing we want to think about when it comes to improving our breathing is inflammation, irritation, inflammation. And there's only so much that you can do about that, because I just talked about make sure you're in a good environment. But hey, maybe you work in an environment where a lot of people smoke and you can't do anything about that. Or maybe you work in a dry environment. Who knows? You're going to take in, all kinds of stuff, and it's going to cause irritation. So doing anything you can do to reduce inflammation is key. Okay. So fish oil, turmeric, those are two that are really helpful. Now, if you take, for instance, and Deb's talking about taking vitamin D, things that are going to improve your respiratory health. So they're going to be vitamin D. If you take vitamin D, you want to take K2. So K2 and vitamin D are always to be taken together. K2, what that does, K2 will ensure that the vitamin D will go to the places that it's supposed to go, and it's not going to line your arteries with calcium, hardening your arteries, making you less healthy in the long run. So if you take vitamin D, take vitamin D3 and also take vitamin K2. There are a few variations of vitamin K2. And so you'll want to do your own research on vitamin K2, but you want to take both of those things together. I take a very high dose of vitamin D every day, and I also take a relatively high dose of vitamin K2 every day. Everyone is going to be a little different, so I do recommend getting your blood tested to see where you are on your vitamin D levels, because you might have plenty of vitamin D and you're just fine. Deb says she's in England, so they don't have any. You don't have any sunshine there. I think that's the classic joke, right? Everybody talks about the weather in London, right? I don't know. The weather in the UK is bad right now. It's cloudy as can be. I think it's going to rain. Um, it's like it's nighttime here, and it's barely even 2 o'clock in the afternoon here. So go figure. And then, so those are good things. One thing that I have been taking a lot lately, and this is kind of my secret that I'm going to give to you, and you may know about it, you may not. N-acetylcysteine, also sometimes known as NAC. So N-acetylcysteine. It's an amino acid that has been shown in about 1,800 milligrams is a high dose. You can take it 600 milligrams. You can take it 300 milligrams. But it is incredibly good for a lot of things. One, it's very popular in the anti-aging community, but it's incredibly good for your respiratory system. And it is something that I've been taking in higher doses since I caught that ridiculous cold and I haven't been able to rest. I'm like doing everything I can. Rest will still do more, right? You have to understand that all supplements do. They help you do what you do. They help your unconscious, right? You call it your immune system, dictated by all these other things. All these things, it helps you do what you naturally do, which is heal. You go back to Hippocrates talks about this, the amazing capacity for self-healing. That's what you do. Anyway, in acetylcysteine, I highly recommend that. There's been some research taking N-acetylcysteine with selenium. I don't want to go into selenium too much, but you can have toxic levels of selenium. So I generally don't recommend. I do your own research on that. But N-acetylcysteine is something that I highly recommend. So fish oil, turmeric, vitamin D, K2, and N-acetylcysteine. Those are my picks. Those are my recommendations. If you're looking for a supplement list for better respiratory health, and you can take those all of those on a regular basis. You get short-term and long-term benefits from taking those. So those are the ones that I like to take myself. And I take those every single day. I've taken them every single day for the last, I don't know how long, at least 20 years, maybe longer. I don't know. But those are the ones I take every day. I've changed my dose, and I change my vitamin D dose depending on how much sunshine I'm getting. Right now, it's not a lot. And don't kid yourself. Even if you like being in nature, the vast majority of us human beings don't go outside very much. And this is one of those funny things where it is true that vitamin D is responsible for an enormous amount of functions and a vast amount of your immune function. Vitamin D is important for that. But a lot of people will say, well, the reason why we catch colds in the wintertime is because we don't get as much sunshine, and that reduces the amount of vitamin D that we get. And that's why we catch colds in the wintertime. Well, believe it or not, the average human being doesn't spend much time outside during the summertime either. Right? I mean, let's not kid ourselves. It's not like you go to school, but during sunny days they let you outside, or it's not like whenever you go to the office, oh, it's nice out, we're going to go outside. No, man, it's either too hot or too cold. Like it's so, and people still catch colds whenever they're out in sunshine and things like that. So while vitamin D can improve your immune function, there are other things involved in how colds and flus work. Actually, I'm doing an enormous amount of research on this right now because I'm writing another book. So I've been promising and promising and promising this for a long time. I have an ebook. You can find it on my website. It's called A Practical Guide to Cold Training. It was my very first offering that I've ever written. And it came out in 2019. I did an update in 2020, and I haven't touched it since until I started this summer. And I've been working on doing a print copy, an update, the final update on this book. And I'm going to publish it next year in print, on Audible, and still on ebook. This book, if you already own a copy of A Practical Guide to Cold Training and you moved over to my my server, you'll just automatically get an updated copy for free. But I'm also going to have an Audible and a print copy come out in next year. I'm looking at maybe in the spring. And I've done an enormous amount of research on why people get sick more often in the wintertime. And yes, it's not because of the temperature, but it is because of the temperature. And to find out more, you'll have to buy my book. Well, I'll talk about it more later. But yeah, there's some interesting things I've been realizing in my research that I can't wait to share with you guys. All right, so today we've talked about quite a few things, and I'm getting my voice back. I'm about 80%. I've been talking all day. I've had clients all day, and then I'm like, I'm looking forward to. I always look forward to this. So if you would like to be a language of breath worker, we are still taking applications. We're getting down to the last few spots in our program, and I have some discovery calls with some people. So we've already accepted a lot of people, and we only have so much room, and I only have so much capacity. I don't like I don't want to do like a wholesale, cram a bunch of people in. I want everybody to go out into the world and get a really good education. But we do have more spaces left right now. And if you are interested in doing that, you can go to languageofbreathcollective.com. Or if you're in the Patreon club, I'm pretty sure I recently made a post about it, and you can click on that and it tells you more about it. And we'll be certifying next year in the Appalachian Mountains. We've got people coming from the Netherlands. We got one person coming from Australia. We got people from all over the United States, people from all sorts of different backgrounds. And then also we're going to be doing our very first Language of Breath Collective reunion, and it's going to overlap. So you'll be able to meet the people that graduated before you, and it's going to be really great. So if you're interested in doing that, if it's something that you feel passionate about, you want to share it with other people, we are still taking applications. Go to languageofbreathcollective.com, or you can just reach out to me. I mean, if you just email me from my website, jessecoomer.com, you can do that too. And I'll send you information on how you can get that going. But that is available right now, and we're taking applications. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. Now, I'm going to log off, and then I'm going to open up the Zoom, because our breath club is about to start the monthly breath party. So we're going to get together. We're going to do some breath work together as a tribe. If you're in the Patreon club, this is part of the Patreon breath party. You've got everybody is invited who's in the Patreon club, from the $5 tier all the way to the highest tier that we have. And I look forward to seeing you there. Guys, thanks so much for being here. I don't think I'll be doing a live tomorrow. I've got to give myself a little bit more rest because I've been overbooked this week trying to make up for last week. So I do practice what I preach as much as I possibly can. I do need to rest. And so I'm going to be doing that probably tomorrow. Tomorrow, I have an episode coming out in the new format. So I'd love to get your feedback on that. And as always, guys, thanks for being here. And please like and share, and subscribe, all those good things. And don't forget to go out there and be kind to one another. All right, Patreon, I'll see you in a few minutes. Have a great week, guys.